And so we're going to be live in a minute. We go streaming first. So, hello, everybody. Here we are finally. We are here with Paul Gordon. So, I just want to, as an introduction, give you a little bit of background about how I met Paul. And so, Paul, you just kind of sit and relax and do your thing. I just I just want to explain to you that as community builder of Launch Lab Academy, it occurred to me about 3 years ago that we were missing an important component to our program, and that was teaching people how to be in front of the camera so they could better let their clients know them and get to love them. And of course, that means more sales. So we did have a series of recorded tutorials about videos, how to do them, what you needed, and the importance of content and delivery. But we were really missing the actual training with accountability and feedback for them. So out of the blue, I started a 21-day workshop on building camera confidence boot camp program that allowed a safe place for our clients to practice, to train, and really to understand the importance of doing their daily lives, because it really is their number one mastery skill in branding yourself. And for the workshop, I invited Paul Gordon to join me. And of course, you know, it was very important for them to understand that they needed to be authentic in front of the camera and how to say what they truly meant when they talked. So Paul was a perfect person. And of course, he was a hit. The boot camp was a hit. And and here we are. I just finished my fourth boot camp, and Paul again was my invited guest for my workshop this time around, just last week. And so um, it was great because at the same time, I was able to introduce Paul to Be Connected, my the new platform that love. I love this platform. So this boot camp is now an important part of the Launch Lab Academy program, and now Paul is now an important member of Be Connected. Paul, say hello to everybody, please.
Hello, everybody. Hello, boys and girls. Hi.
now, now, Paul, you are
Ooh, nice
always
shoes.
You are always so funny. There's not enough time here to check out and give a much fuller explanation of what you do. So I'm going to stick to the title here because you speak about getting out of your own way in order to say what you truly mean. What's so important about that?
Well, getting out of your own way and saying what you truly mean is something that when we're very small, we actually have a certain limited vocabulary about some things, but we know exactly what it is we truly want, and we are fearlessly headed toward that on pretty much a regular basis. Then we go to school, and it's not that school does bad things to us. However, there is a certain understanding that mom and dad, with all of the good and the bad that they instill in us when they are our entire, the rest of our world, we then encounter teachers and our peers. And that's where things get a little screwy. Teachers have very important things to let us know. Do this, this is right. Don't do this is absolutely not right. And there's some other things there, and it gets a little sketchy. But the people that we end up identifying with or identifying against are all of the peers. And it is when we deal with the peers that we start to actually hear a very loud inner self critic, and we become afraid of saying the wrong thing because people will laugh at us. and we get afraid of all sorts of mistakes that we might make. And in my experience, now I've only been teaching this stuff since 1987, so I still have lots of things to learn, but we carry that shit with us for the rest of our lives, and it affects our ability to actually say what we really wish we could say. Now I'm going to jump forward just a little bit and say that relatively recent, in the past 20 years, studies in hospice of people in their dying days and their dying moments, there isn't a single one that said, I'm really glad that I held myself back. One of the most profound things that people regret is that they didn't actually say and do what they really, really wanted while they were here on this mortal coil for whatever chunk of time.
So, so tell me, so many coaches suggest their scripts, but you say that that's not really a strong tactic. Can you explain why that is so?
Yeah, it's very simple.
Mm.
You don't you don't write the way you actually speak. You don't speak the way you actually write. You don't think the way you write. And therefore, the written word, when copied and pasted into scripted templates that everybody out there is bandying about as acceptable, won't cut it. You won't sound like yourself because you'll sound like, I mean, well, I'll touch on this in just a moment. You sound like a robot version of you if you are reading something that's relatively well written by you about you. That is a big if. And if you have actually opted to use some kind of teleprompter app, then you will be speaking and looking and sounding and feeling and smelling to everybody out there like a deer in headlights. It will not feel organic. It will not feel authentic. It will not feel original, and it will not feel like you. Now, here's the thing I was going to say before. One of the pinnacles of a professional author's benchmark personal identifications is his or her or their ability to actually write the way people talk. And they spend their entire lives. These are pro level, like top notch writers with serious chops, working to their last days on this planet to try to write the way people actually think and talk. Tell me this, or answer me this. Do you think that you have achieved that level of expertise so that you could actually read what you have written and have it come across sounding effectively, authentically believable and credible?
All the time. I've been there. I've been there with the scripts, and
Sure.
and it doesn't feel authentic. But when you first start, I mean, I remember when I first started my first video, I even used a teleprompter. I was so I was really so afraid to be in front of the camera. It's really hard to be authentic, I think, in front of the camera. Um, I see you as being your authentic self. So, what's the difference? Because you make a difference between normal authenticity and what you refer to as authenticity plus. Uh, what's the difference between those two?
I'll tell you in just a second, but somebody, Tanya Hoffman said, wrote a message, "You're no longer streaming. Is the show canceled?" I don't know what that. I don't know why. You deal with that.
Yeah, I am. It says streaming, so I don't know what that means.
Yeah, right. I don't know that. But either way, um, authenticity. We've been speaking our whole lives, and there is an illusion, or shall I actually take a little leap? There is a delusion that because I've been talking my whole life, that I can just be the real me, and that be enough. It's a very, very, you know, it's the ubiquitous buzzword lately in content. Be authentic, and yet the fact is, most people's authentic version of him or her or their selves is boring, sloppy, but mostly boring because they haven't learned how to present difference. And you won't know that until you actually enter the pantheon of the next level skills. There isn't a single person you follow who is doing memorized scripts. The best TED Talks, they are not doing a memorized script, and they're not reading from a teleprompter. None of them are. And yet we think it's okay. Now, here's the caveat, and this is what I said I would get to. Most of the business people need you to be able to create content, and they need to claim that they offer a way that you can because they don't know better. They can't teach more effectively this stuff that I'm talking about with you here because they can't, because they don't know, yet they have to offer something. They give you scripts. It's easy for them, it's convenient, it's cookie cutter, and they got them from somebody else. So they can offer something because they need to be able to sell you. And if they said, by the way, we can't do that for you, you'd look elsewhere. It shocks me, actually, that this business world is a world where people accept the less than stellar delivery as a perfectly fine band-aid in the business world, and yet nowhere else in our lives.
Well, and I was just, as you were talking, I was just thinking, in today's videos, I mean, everybody wants you to do a video under 59 seconds. You better know what you're saying, and there's no time really to memorize. You better, you need to be very clear about and intent about what it is that you are doing in your 59 seconds for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm waxing theoretical here, right?
Mhm.
So I am going on and on a little bit, droning perhaps, but I'm offering people, because this is this particular format, I'm offering people enough analogies that hopefully at least one of them is gonna sink in for you, and you're gonna say, "Oh, right, that." And if I can say in different ways the same concepts so that ultimately at least one way lands with you, then you will maybe have that awakening moment and say, "Oh, that's why. Now
Right.
I."
So, when people commit to working with you, how quickly or how quickly can maybe they see changes?
They can see changes. Um, well, there are certain changes depending upon what they do and do not know already. They will see changes super quickly, some within the first day or two. Um, when working with me one on one, and we are actually doing things that follow the lessons, there will be substantial improvements within a few days, and definitely by the end of week one there will be fundamental new understandings of what it is that we have left behind by the end of week one and into week two. And, in my program where I work with people for up to 6 months, the whole idea behind that is that we get things going solidly within 2 months. And then the rest of the time, we flesh out all the other business concepts that are required in order to create content that attracts people to you so that you can allow your content to do the heavy lifting. That way you don't have to, and I'm going to say something that you probably have heard from lots of people before, coaches who tell you, just get people to hop on a call. And that's where you get to try to sell them. I don't do that. My clients don't do that.
Okay, wow. Uh, is it possible to get a little glimpse of one or two of those exercises, or would that be
Sure.
asking too much?
No, sure. It's very, very simple. For starters, let's take a look at one thing. Okay. Um, I have arranged my camera on my computer. I have a laptop sitting here on some books on my table so that it is, the